What do you say, everybody? Welcome to the Bama Insider YouTube channel with Kyle Henderson. I'm Mick Gillispie, and tonight we're going to take your calls, and we're going to talk about Alabama and the fact that the Crimson Tide continue to roll, and I'm looking forward to talking to all of you guys as well. But let's start out with Kyle Henderson. He's the managing editor of the Bama Insider site. And Kyle, first, let me ask everyone that's hanging out with us right now to do us a solid and like and subscribe. Hit the bell, and that's the way you say "Roll Tide" to us. But we talked a little bit after the game last night. Your thoughts, having had some time to kind of think about things after 24 hours or whatever it's been.
Yeah, well, obviously, I want to say thank you very much for everybody that's watching on a Sunday evening. NFL has been fun to watch. Jalen Hurts completely balled out. I know everybody's getting ready for tonight's game between Tampa Bay and New England. You get to see Mac Jones go against Tom Brady. So, certainly enjoy that. But thanks for being with us tonight. Alabama now 5-0 on the season. When you look at their first 5 games, I mean, it is impressive to see what this team has done. They beat Miami. Let's kind of recap real quick what they've done on the season. Beat Miami 44-13. Beat Mercer 48-14. Beat Florida at the Swamp 31-29. I know a lot of people are like, well, what's with Florida because they lost to Kentucky last night. Still went on the Swamp. It's still an impressive victory to me. Then beat Southern Miss 63-14 and beat Ole Miss on Saturday by a score of 42-21. Now, here's something that really stands out to me when I look at these first 5 games. I was looking at the scores by quarter. So check this out. In the first quarter this season, this is very interesting. Alabama has outscored the opposition 73-3 in the first quarter this season. That's really unbelievable.
Wow.
In the second quarter, it's 76-16. Now, there was an interesting post, and we'll kind of talk about this more throughout, and I want to get your take as well, Mick. But someone said, why don't the backups and the second string play more? You kind of look to the fact that Alabama hasn't really played a complete game. In the third quarter, they've outscored opponents just 49-38. And then in the fourth quarter, they've actually been outscored on the season 34-30. So I don't think they played a complete game just yet. I think we saw glimpses of that against Ole Miss. But this team still has a lot of work to do if they want to, figure out how to make another run at a national championship.
So you're saying gambling wise, you would take Alabama in the first quarter, the second quarter, the first half, and then maybe not bet on them in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, I know you like to clean up in the first half, and I know our buddy Jeff Cameron from the College Sportsbook does as well. And the numbers read it right there. I mean, what they're doing in the first half is pretty remarkable. And eager to get people's thoughts on Texas A&M. I think that maybe the game score against Mississippi State is concerning to people, and I think a lot has to do with Texas A&M not having their first string quarterback in that game. Hard to believe that Texas A&M is 0-2 after Jimbo Fisher just got a nice healthy raise at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, and look, there's so much to talk about in the SEC after this past weekend, too, that maybe indirectly affects Alabama, maybe not directly. I mean, obviously, we're going to see Texas A&M, which, by the way, the game time was announced, and what is it, 7 Central, 8 Eastern in College Station. So Alabama is the evening primetime game. That makes for a late night, but it also makes for a great audience.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're going to be up late, with you on, the post-game show and watching that game break down. It's another opportunity for an opposing former assistant to go against Nick Saban. Nick Saban currently 24-0 against former assistant coaches, which is just mind-boggling to me. You would think, eventually one of these guys gets him, but the way that Nick Saban is coaching and continues to coach with experience, and we talked about this after the game, as I felt that Lane Kiffin coached with emotion in that game and kind of let his emotions get the best of him. I know a lot of people don't appreciate kind of the popcorn comment in the beginning, how he went for fourth down conversions. I get it, fourth and goal, whatever you're trying to silence the crowd in the beginning of the game. But I felt that he coached more with his emotion as opposed to Saban, who coached more with experience. So I think that was kind of the outcome of the game, that Saban once again outcoached a former assistant coach.
Yeah, look, I agree with you. I mean, I couldn't believe it when Lane Kiffin kept going for it on fourth down. And he said, well, after the game, I thought what he said seemed, to have some credence to it. He said, look, they scored pretty much every single possession. So the way I looked at it was, we're either giving the ball here, we're going to give it there, but they're probably going to score anyway. So, we just need to keep the ball. I still probably would have punted. And looking back on the game, it was kind of like after the second time they didn't get it on fourth down, they're like turnovers. Sure. And you do it on your side of the field. You might as well go ahead and throw an interception or fumble the football.
Yeah, I mean, clearly he's trying to win the game. He's trying to get some momentum for his side, but I thought it just wasn't smart football. He's a young coach. He's younger. He's aggressive. He wants to come to Bryant-Denny. He wants to beat Nick Saban probably more than anything. I thought he talked a little bit too much at the beginning of the season. Maybe the loss was humbling to him. It doesn't seem like, anything's going to derail him and kind of his future success. So we've talked about whether he's a clown or not. Look, I'm not here to, comment on that really, but I look at the game kind of from a, as a whole perspective, and Nick Saban, what he was able to do with this team throughout the week, I think was very impressive. And then I think it's time to give Pete Golding some credence. I think that the fact that Ole Miss was held under 300 yards, which is the fewest total yards ever under Lane Kiffin, is very impressive to me. I thought some young guys really stood up. I thought Tim Smith did a fantastic job. I thought that Drew Sanders played really well at the outside linebacker position, and I think that Jalen Armour-Davis did a great job. So there you have a defensive lineman, a linebacker, and someone from the secondary, all younger, doing very well, doing their assignments. And overall, the defense, they played with a lot of intensity. I think that's something that you certainly wanted. And the crowd certainly played a role in that. My mother and my son were at that game. And they said that the crowd was just intense. People didn't even sit down for the first half. And that's what the type of energy that the players deserve. I mean, these guys haven't lost in nearly 800 days, if you can believe that. And, the ultimate goal is the national championship. And the way that these guys are playing, it seems like a two-horse race at this point. And I talked about this morning on a YouTube video between Alabama and Georgia.
205-850-0883. That's the call-in line. We're going to be taking your calls here in just a couple of minutes. So there's some lines open. Call in and hang out with us. This is the Bama Insider YouTube channel. Like and subscribe. We do this every single Sunday night. We do the Sunday night call-in show. So, we'll get you right up until Tom Brady makes his return to Foxborough, right, or somewhere in that neighborhood. So got some definitely a little window here before tonight's NFL game, but we're all talking about Alabama. Let's talk a little bit about the SEC. How about, we know that Georgia, like you mentioned today, is kind of next level. They're like Alabama. It feels like a two-horse race now, not just in the SEC, but maybe in the nation. Outside of that game against Arkansas, how about Kentucky beating Florida last night? They're undefeated. They've all of a sudden turned around and they're like 5-0.
Yeah, you kind of look at the East right now, and it's Georgia at 5-0 on the season, 3-0 in conference play, outscoring opposition by a score of 205-23. I think that says a lot about their defense. And if you watch my video from this morning, I do question their offensive approach in terms of throwing the football down the field. I think that's one area that, I want to see. And I know JT Daniels isn't fully healthy, but clearly Stetson Bennett's not going to throw the football. And they have quality running backs, 4 guys that are just fantastic from Georgia. But I think it's kind of what we saw from last year. They really can't throw the football. If they were able to throw the football, that's a very dangerous team. I think they're, capable clearly of going toe-to-toe with Alabama. Kentucky, as you mentioned, with a big win over Florida, now 5-0 on the season. Stu's doing a fantastic job there. And then when we look to the West, Auburn had a big victory last night over LSU, and the escapability of Bryce is something that we talk about. But how about the escapability of Bo Nix? My goodness. And not only is he super athletic, he's also super lucky. You can't get a hold of him. He extends plays, and then he just kind of reels back and finds an open receiver. So Auburn, with the new head football coach, 4-1 on the season. And then you have Arkansas, who is also 4-1, had a tough time with Georgia, going against that defense. And that defense, probably the best defense in the country that Kirby Smart has.
Yeah. Do you worship Auburn Jesus? Because every week it seems like their Messiah comes in and saves them. And it was again this week. And then last week we saw the phantom catch that the SEC officials gave them. It really is amazing. It's the first time that they've won down at LSU in a long time. Ed Orgeron's days as head coach are numbered. You know that eventually is going to lead to him probably at some point this season being fired. It was a good game, but a game that LSU's got to have. And, they've dealt with some injuries, but that's not a good Auburn team. And to lose to them, man.
Yeah, that's clearly a big loss. And we can kind of dive into that. And something that also stands out to me is the fact that Mississippi State, they were able to beat Texas A&M within the West, and now that Texas A&M is at the bottom of the barrel. And I remember during SEC media days, people kept on harping about Texas A&M. People were from the media, from the Texas A&M side, were physically asking Nick Saban about Texas A&M, and kind of everything was geared to this hypothetical, maybe 1 versus 2 matchup at some point. And you kind of look to Texas A&M and where they're at right now, 3-2 and 0-2 in SEC play in the West. I think that is certainly concerning for Texas A&M fans. And then it doesn't help when you have, this buzzsaw coming in from Alabama that I didn't even check the early line on that game, but I figure it's a double digit at Kyle Field, right?
You know what? That is a good question. I'm glad you asked me that, because I'm guessing that you're right. I mean, it would seem to be a game that would be. I'm going to guess right now, because I'm about to pull it up here.
Yeah,
that the line's probably like 15. So let's see how close I am.
That's something that I would probably say as well, like 14.5. And yeah, there it is, 14.5. That was my guess. So there it is, right on the money, with a total of 53 points. So I don't know, kind of how many points Texas A&M is going to score in that game. Maybe, I don't know, 14 or something like that. So you figure that Alabama, hits that 40-point mark or 35 or something like that. And the way that Bryce Young is playing has been really fantastic. You look at his season statistics, it's really incredible. I have those numbers right in front of me. Bryce Young, for just a second-year player, really this is his first year leading this offense. What he's done on the season has been really fantastic. ESPN put up a graphic, and it compared the first 5 games between, Jalen, Tua, Mac, and Bryce. And Bryce had very comparable numbers, if not the better numbers, between those quarterbacks. So on the season, he has an efficiency rating of 185, which is stellar. His percentage is 73.2, 1,300 yards, 17 touchdowns, and just 2 interceptions. I thought against Ole Miss, that was the first ball that we really saw him force a throw, which related to an interception. The first one, I kind of put that on Jamison Williams. I mean, it did hit him right in the chest. But what he's been able to do has been really fantastic, averaging 273 yards per game.
Yeah, no doubt. And you know what? He's stepped up in the big moments. He's one of the favorites for the Heisman, and he didn't do anything to diminish that. Matt Corral didn't have a great game, and it maybe took a step back. So that'll be something else, talking about Vegas, that we'll talk about later on. But there's no clear favorite right now for the Heisman Trophy. And if Bryce Young just so happened to get hot here down the stretch, he could really give himself an opportunity to win that award.
Yeah, I think he's certainly going to be up there. I know that the odds will be updated here on Monday, so we'll kind of dive into that. Maybe we'll sprinkle some content on our sister channel, which is the College Sportsbook. Definitely go and like and subscribe to that. Look, what he's been able to do, I think, is great, and how he handles himself with the poise and his escapability. He's orchestrating this offense at a very high level. That also goes to show some positive credence to Bill O'Brien, who I think has done a great job with this offense, taking over for Steve Sarkisian. You look at the way that Bill O'Brien dialed up a great game plan for Ole Miss. He didn't do a lot of things different from Steve Sarkisian last year. He ran the football right at Ole Miss, just as Alabama did last season. Remember, Najee Harris had over 200 yards. Brian Robinson had nearly 200 yards with 4 touchdowns. On the season, Brian Robinson, 390 yards rushing, 74 attempts with 6 touchdowns. Jace McClellan, as we mentioned, suffered a knee injury against Ole Miss. It's going to be another update from Saban on Monday, where we're going to find more on that situation. From what Saban said, it didn't look good from the initial reports. But with that said, he also said that for William Anderson. And look, William Anderson's still playing. So hoping for the best for Jace McClellan on the season. 40 attempts, 199 yards with 1 touchdown. He also catches the football very well out of the backfield. He has 3 receiving touchdowns, so certainly a key weapon for Alabama's backfield.
Yeah, and I think that's where it hurts Alabama the most, potentially not having him, is his ability to catch the ball and then make plays, make guys miss. He's so good in the open space. He's explosive. But you know what? We've been wondering about Trey Sanders and Roydell Williams, and those guys are going to have to step up now. They're going to get those opportunities. You know, someone after the game last night called and said, hey, what do you think about Trey Sanders? Is he going to transfer? He's not playing. He's going to be playing now, you know, and when you're third on the depth chart on a 3-man, you know, running back team, you're going to play. So it's going to be interesting to see kind of how things shake out. And all we can do is keep our fingers crossed and hope that for McClellan, that it's not something that limits him or takes him out for the rest of the season.
Alabama has a deep running back room, but anytime you lose 2 running backs, that shortens things down. Remember, Kamar Wheaton, he's been out with an undisclosed injury. Still can't get an update on what the exact injury is on Kamar Wheaton, the 5-star freshman. If Jace McClellan's injury is serious, then you have Brian Robinson, you have Roydell Williams. He'll become the 2nd-string running back, and then you have Trey Sanders. So that's 3 running backs in the backfield. That's not a lot to distribute the carries. And you're right, Trey Sanders will eventually get an opportunity. Don't really know the situation there. I think it just might be that Jace McClellan and Roydell Williams playing at a little bit higher level. And, you know, Saban doesn't have to promise to play every single player. And, you know, if you wait your turn, you're going to get a shot. So I think eventually as the season gets going and depending on Jace's injury, we're certainly going to see more of Trey Sanders. Wanted to kind of switch gears and talk about the receiving unit and get your take inside the comment box on the receivers this year for Alabama. John Mechie, 27 receptions for 275 yards with 2 touchdowns, caught a touchdown pass against Ole Miss. Jamison Williams, the Ohio State transfer, 17 receptions for 364 yards. 94 yards of those are from that touchdown catch against Miami, 3 touchdowns on the season, averaging 72.8 yards per game. Slade Bolden, third on the team in receptions, 13 receptions for 148 yards. And then you have Jaleel Billingsley, who's got hot as of late, 10 receptions, 178 yards. Cameron Two, 9 receptions for 122 yards. However, he leads the team in touchdowns with 5.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, look, I think that the catch that Mechie made in the beginning of yesterday's game was important, you know, just to keep him involved and just to keep that reminder that, you know, he's still a go-to guy. Slade Bolden had one of his best games, in my opinion, because he caught all those important 3rd down passes that kept drives alive, you know, and at the beginning of the game, Alabama really had to put pressure on Ole Miss, because you didn't want to fall behind and then or go back and forth like they did last year, you know, and that was something that Nick Saban really focused on after the Florida game, was not just getting the lead, but maintaining the lead, adding to the lead, and both of those guys really helped out in that area. But Williams has been the go-to guy. Can you imagine this team without him transferring in from Ohio State? I mean, he's open a lot. And he catches the ball when they get it to him for the most part.
Yeah, he's a very explosive player. He has a great top end speed, probably the fastest player. Although I keep hearing that Jalen Milroe is the fastest player on the team, so I don't know. Either way, like you said, I mean, he's a big play threat. He's targeted a lot of times from Bryce, and I agree with you regarding Slade Bolden. I think it shows confidence, the fact that they keep going to him. You know, Bryce and Slade. I know Slade has dropped 2 touchdown passes for Bryce, but he continues to still go to Slade Bolden. And I think that's what you got to do. I mean, this young man is out there working. And the coach, look, Coach Bill O'Brien and Saban, they're not going to put someone out there that they don't have confidence in. Mm-hmm. And I know fans have a short memory or a long memory in terms of when you drop a pass. But I think, you know, let's, you know, leave it to Bill O'Brien and Nick Saban. I mean, this offense is scoring a ton of points per game. So until it's really broken, you know, or if it's broken at all, then you kind of start to figure out what's going on. In terms of another transfer and kind of switching to the defensive side of the ball, Henry To'oTo'o leads the team in tackles with 35 total tackles. William Anderson has 33 tackles and 11 tackles for loss. Now, following the game, Lane Kiffin said that he feels that William Anderson could be the first overall pick in the NFL draft.
Wow.
Of course, William Anderson only a sophomore, so he'll be back for the 2022 season. DeMarco Helms bringing the wood last night. I thought he had some big bone-jarring hits. He has 31 tackles on the team. 19 of those are solo tackles. And then Jordan Battle, Alabama's additional safety, has 28 tackles on the team. Christian Harris has 27 tackles, and Drew Sanders, who is filling in for Chris Allen, has 20 tackles. What that tells me regarding Alabama's interior linebackers is that Henry To'oTo'o, he's flying around. Look, he hasn't had his best. There was a couple games where I think you're kind of figuring out Henry To'oTo'o maybe didn't have the best game against, Florida or whatever. But I think these guys really were dialed in against Ole Miss. Lane Kiffin had a lot of positive praise for Henry To'oTo'o and William Anderson after the game. I personally thought that Drew Sanders did a much better job against Ole Miss, and I thought that Fidarian Mathis, who is one of Alabama's clear leaders, did a great job on the season. He has 19 tackles, 4 tackles for a loss, and he has 3.5 sacks, which leads the team in terms of getting to the quarterback.
Yeah, yep, no doubt. Well, that's big praise for Anderson. That's just what kind of a disruptor and a difference maker he is. All right, guys, subscribe as you hang out with us. 205-850-0883. He's Kyle Henderson. I'm Mick Gillispie. Kyle, you ready to take some calls?
Yeah. We'll take some calls. We'll kind of get things going. You guys keep calling in. Mick will kind of he'll take your calls, he'll lead, and you chime in for a little bit more, and then I'll catch up with you guys as we continue to go forward. Remember, we have Nick Saban's press conference on Monday, as well as hearing from Jimbo Fisher. We'll continue to look for an update on Jace McClellan. We'll also hear for some more players on Monday to get you ready for Alabama versus Texas A&M.
All right. Thanks, Kyle. All right, let's go to the phone lines and get this thing started with some calls. Who's this and where you calling from?
Hey, what's going on? It's Anthony from Long Island.
What's up, Anthony?
What's going on, man? Been a while since I called in. I've been busy, but great to see you guys back and talk to you guys. The number one thing is I want to say, and I'm included in this, is I just want to give praise to Pete Golden because including myself and other people were quick to put him down, but I just hope people are quick to give him praise and credit because the game plan that he drew up him and Saban for it, I think was incredible. The fact that they kept the same personnel on the field, like Saban mentioned after the game, and was instrumental in them being able to just get the communication in because at times Ole Miss is going super fast that they even got a few penalties on themselves. As far as the running backs, I just like the play calling. I felt Bill O'Brien against the Florida. I felt like he just went away from the run. I don't know why. I don't know if he felt like the line wasn't physical enough, so they wouldn't win battles up front. But I like how they just kept punching Ole Miss in the mouth and just treating those receivers. As far as Bryce Young, I hear a lot of people saying that I wish he runs a lot more. He could on certain things, but I just think he's really smart and doesn't take unnecessary hits because we haven't seen too much of Paul Tyson, the backup, or Jalen Milroe, I think the last name is.
Yeah.
So if he was to go down, so I haven't seen them play too much. So I'm not sure. I'm not saying I have confidence in them. It's just I think he just plays a real smart brand of football. He's very slippery in the pocket, the way he moves, and it's incredible how he just gets the ball out without having his feet set. I really haven't seen too many quarterbacks be able to do that. And I'll let you guys go. I just want to ask you guys a question as far as why don't you think that the backups haven't gotten too much reps? Because the games that I've watched, they really haven't gotten anything. And we need them to be there for us to be able to have a backup quarterback right now.
Yeah, well, great call, Anthony. And, I'll even kind of get Kyle in on this too. Why haven't the backups been in there a lot as far as QB goes so far, Kyle? I kind of feel like it's because Bryce Young is it's important for him to get as many snaps as he can. I mean, he's a starting quarterback, and I just feel like there's a big drop off personally between him and the other guys. And that he needs to get the experience. I don't know. What do you think, Kyle?
Yeah, well, it's great to hear from you, Anthony. Thank you so much for calling in. We appreciate our callers. Definitely the thumbs up, subscribe. I think regarding the quarterback situation, and someone asked this today on BamaInsider, they said that, why doesn't Coach Saban play the backups more? The backup should be playing when Alabama's up by a couple touchdowns. Look, number one, and this isn't to sound disrespectful, but look, this isn't Yaffle. This isn't Pop Warner. This isn't junior high football. Like, the best players have to play. And I get it. When Alabama's up by 3 touchdowns or 4 touchdowns, and you're starting to question yourself because you don't want guys to get injured. Football is a violent sport. You can get hurt playing in the first quarter. You can get hurt playing in the fourth quarter. These guys and Coach Saban, this isn't my opinion. This is what Coach Saban has said regarding this very topic. Coach Saban has said that Alabama starters, meaning the quarterback all the way through the safeties, the special teams, whatever, have to gain 4-quarter endurance. They have to know what it's like to go 4 quarters in total, because and there's going to be games where Alabama has to go 4 quarters. They want those guys to understand what it's like to be ready for those 4 quarters. And just like Mick said, you got to get the reps. Look, Bryce didn't get a lot of reps last year. What did he throw the football? 21 times. This season, it's imperative that he gets a full understanding and develops a full cohesiveness with this offense, whether it's the offensive line, the receivers. I personally still don't think that he has a strong connection with John Mechie and Jamison Williams. I think that connection could be a lot stronger. I honestly think Alabama's offense could be a lot better. And I don't think this team has played a full 4 quarters. Look, the numbers are right here in front of you. In the first quarter, they've outscored opponents 73-3. In the second, 76-16. In the third quarter, 49-38. In the fourth quarter, 30-40. 30-34, they've been outscored. Now that tells us, because Alabama's clearly, they're not trying to run up the score on teams like Southern Miss or Mercer or whatever. But I don't think that Saban said after the game against Ole Miss, he didn't feel they played an entire game. And he said the same thing against Florida. And those are the 2 toughest teams that they played up to this standpoint. So you got to put it all together. And that's why the backups aren't getting in. The backups don't need reps right now. The starters need reps. We're only the first 5 games of the season. It's a gauntlet of a season. I get it. You want to see some of these younger guys in. You want to see a Jai Hall. You want to see maybe Tyson. You want to see maybe Milroe. But it's the most important thing is to stay healthy. And the most important thing is to get reps right now. Game reps.
Great call, Anthony from Long Island. Like, subscribe, hit the thumbs up as you guys hang out with us and talk Alabama football on a Sunday night. He's Kyle Henderson. I'm Mick Gillispie. This is the Bama Insider YouTube channel. All right, let's go right back to the phone lines again. And great job, Anthony in Long Island, getting us started. Who's this and where are you calling from?
What's going on, fellas? This is Jared from Buffalo. On the caller line, I can't hear Kyle on the caller line, but on YouTube, I can hear him fine on YouTube, but on the caller line, I can't hear him at all.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure what the deal is with the caller line, but you heard what he said about about the backup quarterbacks. What do you think about the game? Your thoughts on everything now that you've had some time to process Alabama's beatdown with popcorn of Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss?
Well, first of all, I agree with what Kyle said there, that we haven't really competed. We haven't had a game where we played our hearts out for four quarters in a row. It seems like on the defensive side of the ball and on the offensive side of the ball, it seems like we're slacking a little bit. We're not playing with that intensity, that fire, that passion that we're accustomed to seeing Alabama football playing. Defensively, we were great. I mean, we were swarming on the football. We weren't the best tacklers in the world in the first half, but we were swarming on the football. We had noses there. We played with a crap ton of physicality on the line of scrimmage. And then the second half kind of came and you really started to see the lack of physicality on the defensive line. Henry T. and Christian Harris really started to kind of really think way too much instead of just, following their first instinct, following their first read, and the secondary with the penalties and just, again, the not wrapping up. So, yeah, I completely agree with Kyle there that we lack intensity. But, as far as being an explosive football team that can literally put 20 or 30 points on the first quarter, Alabama is the best nation in the country when it comes to doing that. But I feel like really the only problem, and I don't even think that this is a Pete Golden issue on the defensive side of the ball. I just think that this is more of a lack of focus and just lack of intensity. And, Nick Saban's right. Kyle's right. We got to get better at that.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I mean, like the intensity thing, playing 4 quarters, it's tough to play 4 quarters when the game's over after 2, or the game's over after 3. And for Nick Saban, it's a balancing act. I mean, you don't want to embarrass your opponent. You want to have respect for the competition. But at the same time, you got to get your guys ready to play 4 quarters. And the Florida game's a good example of what happens when you turn around and there is a 4-quarter game. You know, he said everybody looked tired on defense, right? They didn't look tired on defense this week. Thank goodness.
Oh, I mean, you're right. And the Florida game, they ran 70 plays, and we were just tired. I mean, you would think that we were playing Clemson back in 2016 when they had over 100 plays on our defense. You know, but even then, it's like we still kept intensity. We still wanted to win that particular game, but it was over almost 120 plays, 70 plays, and we're gassed out like that. Like that's just unacceptable at this point. So, you know, it's a young team. I feel like every single game we're learning something. I feel like as fans, we can kind of get a good idea of what kind of is the issue and what we can do as, you know, now of course we're not coaches, but you know, we can kind of talk about it, talk about these type of issues. And, you know, again, Henry T, Christian Harris, you know, they played great in the first half, but the second half they kind of disappeared. Again, they lacked the fundamentals. They weren't really wrapping up. They really weren't challenging the holes. They weren't really following their reads. You know, it's just certain issues just all across the board that we need to get cleaned up. We need to get fixed. But thank God we got the A&M game, because A&M is a very physical football team. A&M is a team that, you know, for the most part, they have a very physical offensive line. They have one of the best running backs in college football with Isaiah Spiller. They got a very physical defense and a really, really good secondary that's not afraid to really jam your receivers up front. I feel like they have one of the best safety duos in all of college football. It's just a great test for us that, you know, if we can, you know, can we keep that intensity up for 4 quarters? We're going to be in another difficult environment, something that Georgia hasn't faced. But, you know, again, we'll talk about that maybe later on. But, yeah, we're going into another difficult environment in Kyle Field. And the question is that if we continue to just, you know, come out, explode in the first quarter, what can we do in the second quarter? What can we do in the third, the fourth quarter? What can we do to try to, you know, keep them out of the game, keep the crowd out the game? Because we don't want to have another Florida situation. I think we found that Kentucky's a good football team, but come on. I mean, you know, that's a game that Florida had no business losing. And I kind of go back to the Alabama-Florida game. It's like, well, you know what? Yes, we played in a very difficult environment. It's week 2, but you got to remember, we were up 21-3 at one point in that football game, and we just lacked intensity for that. So it's still a young team. We're going to get better. I'm glad that we got the A&M game coming up. I think it's a good test, and I can't wait for it.
Yeah, great comments by Jarek from Buffalo. And Kyle, I'll get you to jump in. But first, let me thank Danco Hawkins hooking us up with the high five, man. We love the super chats, the super stickers, man. We appreciate you guys so much. You know, it's like an on-air tip, and it means a lot to the staff and all of us that are at Bama Insider. When you guys do that, we appreciate it so much. So thank you for that. Kyle, you know, you just kind of digging in on Jarek's thoughts about Alabama and the intensity that they need to have for 4 quarters. He feels like that this week is a good matchup for Alabama, because although Texas A&M's reeling right now, losers to Arkansas and Mississippi State, 2 games that they thought they would win, they promised to beat Alabama, and they're going to be focused for the Crimson Tide.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, and Jarek, it's really good to hear from you. You know, thank you very much for calling in. We always appreciate your calls and your insights. You're one of our, you know, top callers. So certainly thank you very much. Thank you for the super chat as well. We got a super chat, you know, somewhere in there. I think it was from, is it from Danko?
Yeah.
Danko. What's up, Danko? Appreciate you. Danko Hawkins. Appreciate you, man. When you look at Texas A&M, I think that it's going to present challenges because, as Jarek said, the Texas A&M playing over there, Kyle Field, they're going to be amped up. It's their Super Bowl. Everybody plays up for the game against Alabama. Zach Calzada on the season has 744 yards. He's their backup quarterback. He has 5 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. As Jarek said as well, their running back, Isaiah Spiller, he's dangerous. He has 445 yards on the season with 2 touchdowns, also has 13 receptions for 106 yards. He could certainly be a problem. They have Devon Ackney back there as well, 296 yards. And these guys are very, very capable to make game-changing plays. I kind of look to their athletes as athletes that Alabama had in the last 2 years. Guys like Jalen Waddle, Jerry Jeudy. I mean, their guys are super fast. Now, can Calzada get the ball to them? I don't know. Doesn't look like, you know, he's been able to do that. I know they struggled against Colorado. They lost against Mississippi State, but still playing on the road. You got to get up for that. You got to be dialed in, and you got to really block out the noise. I was talking about Alabama's back end schedule, and kind of the teams that remain with Alabama's schedule. I mean, just like Georgia, just like Alabama's schedule, they have a real shot to continue to run the table. You look at Alabama's schedule for the remainder of the season. They have Texas A&M on the road on October 9th. They have Mississippi State on the road again in Stark Vegas. That'll be on October 16th against Mike Leach. October 23rd, that'll be the third weekend in October. And everybody will be getting their cigars at R&R for the Alabama and Tennessee game. October 30th, it's an open week right before LSU trip for LSU and Ed Orgeron to come to Tuscaloosa. And then on November 13th, you got New Mexico State. November 20th, you have Arkansas, and then you have Auburn in Auburn on the 27th. So, those games are, some could be trap games. I think that the Arkansas score against Georgia kind of throws us off. But then again, credit to Georgia's defense. I think they're just that good. The Texas A&M, though, the game against Texas A&M and Jimbo Fisher, another former assistant for Nick Saban, with a lot of athletes. But just as we talked about earlier, it's a 14.5-point favorite for the Crimson Tide.
Yep, no doubt. All right, let's go right back to the phone lines again. And guys, as you hang out with us tonight, like and subscribe. I see that there are over 300 of you guys here with us right this second. We should have 300 likes. Give us a thumbs up and subscribe and hang out. And let's talk Alabama football. He's Kyle Henderson. I'm Mick Gillispie. This is the BamaInsider YouTube channel, and we do this every Sunday night following Alabama Crimson Tide football. All right, let's go back to the phones. Who's this and where you calling from?
Yes, this is Tom from California.
What's up, Tom?
And I am arguably the biggest Alabama fan on the West Coast. I'm from Northern California. And I've been a Tide fan since, probably about the last 10 or 12 years. And what was displayed yesterday was that no matter what an offense runs, football is still won on the line of scrimmage. And Alabama dominated both phases.
Yeah, I mean, look, I agree with you. Look, just stop right there.
Sorry,
I mean, you nailed it. I mean, coming into that football game, who would have thought that it would be controlling the clock and running the football, old school style, that was going to win the game. And when you get down to it, time of possession and Alabama's running attack, Brian Robinson in particular, were the difference in that game. But the offensive line was amazing, I thought.
Yes, completely. And what I also love is that yesterday proved that given the opportunity, B-Rob could be one of the best running backs in the country. He's physical, he's fast, he's shifty, and he complements that Alabama offense very well.
Yeah. Look, Kyle, I mean, you it's hard to argue with that.
Yeah, you can go ahead and let the caller figure out, finish out, and then I'll once you guys are done, I'll chime in so the caller can hear.
All right, Tom, anything else?
Well, I would just like to say that what people fail to realize too, maybe not in the Southeast, but this is a young Alabama football team, and they have been coached up very well to even be at the point where they are now. Because when you lose 6 first-round starters to the NFL and still be as competitive on the level that they are, it's a testament to Nick Saban and his coaching staff and their philosophy.
Oh, no doubt. I mean, look, I haven't seen anything like this. They used to talk about Miami, they don't rebuild, they reload. That's where it came from, Miami. But Miami didn't have it going like this. They had it going, but they didn't have it going like this. And partly because their coaches all left to go to the NFL and other places. Nick Saban being consistently at Alabama and dedicated to staying at Alabama, and at an age now where he's not chasing anything else. I mean, the NFL, that's not going to happen for him. He doesn't want to do that. He's already done that. He doesn't want to go to another school. Anybody would take him in a second. He's locked in on basically doing what he likes to do, and that's coach football. The administration has been smart enough to stay out of his way. That was something that I worried about. I always worried about the administration at Alabama messing up Nick Saban because, some of the people that have been behind the scenes haven't always been that smart, and you go back to Gene Stallings when he was head coach, and Bob Bachroth, the AD, thought he could do better, and then it turned into a Tennessee situation, the same situation that the Vols are in right now. Alabama went on this tailspin. They went from winning a championship to not getting anywhere near a championship, and then they couldn't get a coach, and then they got on probation because they were trying to catch up, in the recruiting game, and the next thing you know, you're like I said, you're like the Vols, you're like Florida State, The most important thing, Kyle, and just my experience covering Alabama, being a student at Alabama, being a fan of Alabama, being around Alabama, is getting the right coach, which obviously is Nick Saban. The second most important thing is the administration being supportive and staying out of the way. And if Nick Saban didn't have the personality that he does have, that would be a bigger issue. The thing I love most about Coach Saban is what makes us all nervous about him is that he's not going to take anybody's crap. He's running the show, Kyle.
Yeah, well, and thanks for the call, Tom. We appreciate you out in California. I used to live in California. I used to live in Redondo Beach for quite some time. I worked in Torrance, so always got love for the West Coast. Continue to call in 205-850-0883 is the call-in line. Thank you very much for the super chats as well, Devin. I think, the administration, certainly knows who the big dog is. It's Nick Saban. He's completely changed not only the university, but also the local economy here in Tuscaloosa. So if it's not broke, don't fix it. I mean, Saban has certainly, transformed Tuscaloosa into such a great place to live. I'm sure it was great before, but I mean, where he's taking it, I've been here for 5 years. We love it. The economy is booming, and a lot of it has to do with Nick Saban, honestly, and what he's done. And I know he's paid $8-9 million. I mean, maybe that's not even enough for what he's been able to do for not only Alabama, the university, the football program, but also for the SEC. I mean, he's taken everything to new heights. And I like to refer to him not only as Coach Saban, but also as kind of the commissioner of college football. When he stands on the podium and he really wants to make a statement regarding a big picture item, the whole world is watching in. Do you ever see, let me ask you this. Do you ever see, how many other coaches do you see on ESPN? How many, honestly? Do you see
not many.
Do you see Dabo Sweeney? Do you see, Riley? Do you see Scott Frost? Do you see James Franklin? Do you see any of them on ESPN? No.
Yeah, not many.
You see Nick Saban every single day, almost, seriously, because what he says is, pretty much, the entire script for college football. So I like to refer to him as the college commish, and I think a lot of people secretly do too. And what he's done in terms of, having that stability with Alabama, with his program. Look how many offensive coordinators have been here over the past 5 years, right? Brian DeBall, I really felt, and I continue to say this, that's when Alabama's offense transformed into the offense that you see today, to Mike Locksley, to Steve Sarkisian, and then to Bill O'Brien. People are like, Bill O'Brien's coming over. He ran the Texans into the ground or whatever. He didn't do this. He didn't do that. Look, as long as Saban's here, look at all the assistants that have swapped out under Saban. I mean, since I've been here in 5 seasons, there's probably honestly, more than 25 coaches that have, continued to move on to different opportunities. Saban has been the constant. He has this program rolling. And now guess what? It's not only about Alabama on Saturdays and about what Alabama does on the football field and nearly losing for, they haven't lost in 800 games or whatever, but Saban has now dominated the NFL. Every single team has, at least 5 players from the NFL, it seems like, right? Saban said that there's over 70 some players from the NFL. Turn on the TV tonight. Guess where the starting quarterback's from on the opposing side of Tom Brady? Yeah, New England Patriots. And that's Mac Jones. And guess who his running back is? Damian Harris. Guess where he's from?
Yep.
Alabama.
Yep.
Guess who the backup is for Gronk at the tight end position, or at least the backup to the backup, OJ Howard. Guess where he's from? Yeah. Check and Nate. Saban's always playing chess out there, and we continue to see that. He's playing at such a high level. What he's done for college football will never be emulated.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. All right, guys, as you hang out, 205-850-0883, and we appreciate all of you guys for calling in. Let's go back to the phone lines again, and I, again, implore you to thumbs up, subscribe, hit the bell. That's the way you say Roll Tide as we hang out on a Sunday night talking Alabama, Texas A&M, Alabama, Ole Miss, the SEC, Coach Saban, whatever you want to get into. Who's this and where you calling from?
Kevin, Dallas, Georgia. How you all doing this evening?
Hey, what's up, Kevin? Thanks for calling back. I know we had some technical difficulties last week.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But I just wanted to chime in shoot out a few buckshots, and upon doing that, two questions at the end. One is, I look forward to the opportunity this season as far as going back to Sarkisian, as far as being all gas and no brakes, offensively and defensively. And I think Kyle alluded to it earlier in reference to being able to play 4 solid quarters. Also, comparing last year to this year is, as far as offensively, is unfair in the respect that last year was Mike Tyson. This year is Floyd Mayweather. And my question to the fans is, it doesn't make a difference as far as the route that is taken to get to it, the route that is required to get to a championship, as long as we reach the ultimate goal, and that's a national championship. Also, I stated as far as, I think the last call, as far as last season, the call is in reference to the strength of the Alabama team, as far as the future being the underclassmen, as far as the class of 20 and class of 21. And honestly, gentlemen, I wouldn't take, if I was Jack in the beanstalk, and it would be a matter of offering me some beans as far as for the upperclassmen for the University of Alabama. I have to be honest with you, gentlemen, for the bulk of them, other than yesterday, first half, the bulk of the underclassmen, as far as on the defensive side of the ball and a couple on the offensive side of the ball, gentlemen, I don't have the utmost confidence in them. I mean, I can understand as far as having the experience, but as far as the talent and the ones that I'm really willing to ride or die with are more so the underclassmen. And lastly, as far as two questions, gentlemen, is in reference to the prospect of the University of Florida as well as the University of Georgia playing Alabama, including SEC and the playoffs twice or maybe even 3 times this year.
Yeah, great call, Kevin. I mean, you're bringing the gas today and making me laugh at the same time. That's being intellectual and funny at the same time is difficult, but you accomplished that. I'll say this: there's a possibility that Alabama and Georgia play twice. I think Florida's eliminated. I mean, they lost to Kentucky, and that's the second loss. I mean, they'd have to beat Georgia, and a lot of things would go their way. I just don't see anyone getting in the way of Georgia. I think that Cincinnati's going to make the college football playoff. And I got to be honest with you. You go to Notre Dame, you beat them, you beat Indiana. I mean, with Michael Penix, I know they don't play a great schedule outside in their conference, but they were there last year right in the doorstep, and all they've done is just they went to Notre Dame and kicked their butt, that they're going to be hard to keep out. So you got to figure that, Georgia, Alabama, them, and who else? I mean, it to me feels like it's a 2-team race. And the fact that Florida lost that second game, I think that eliminates any possibility of having 3 games against one team in the same season.
It's Kevin.
And lastly, gentlemen, another question, and I'll sign off, is just in reference to as far as I know I'm not saying we, but as far as just me, as far as looking at next season of all things, and that is, what's the prospect? Okay, we win it this year because it's pretty much set on the tee for us to win it this year because of the attrition as far as around the country, as far as quote blue blood program. But my parting question will be, we win it this year, wouldn't it be definitely set on a tee as far as next year? Because even when it comes to next year's schedule as far as 22, the only difficult game that's on the regular season schedule next year is Texas.
Kyle, that's rat poison that is even more ratty than the stuff I talk about.
Yeah, and you could close out with Kevin.
Well, hey, you have to have, I'm forever gentleman as far as the hamster on the treadmill, or as well as the donkey with the doggone carrot in front of it. I mean, I have to, as far as at times, I just feel I suffer from, just like the University of Alabama, the disease of more.
Yeah.
More wins, more championships, etc.
Hey, great call, Kevin. Roll Tide, man.
Thank you all. Y'all take care. RTR.
RTR, man. Yeah. So, Kyle, I think that's hilarious. But he's looking at next year's schedule. You looked at next year's schedule, and it's not very appetizing. We'll put it like that. As far as like big games, I mean, that's a year from where we are right now. But you look at the schedule and you kind of feel the same way, like that they could run that schedule next year.
Yeah, I mean, when the schedule came out, and first of all, Kevin, thank you so much for calling. We really appreciate you. I remember when the first time Kevin called in, I put up Dallas, Texas on the screen, me being from the West Coast, and he's like, no. He's like, Dallas, Georgia. So I was like, oh, okay, Dallas, Georgia. So anyways, a great call from Kevin. I love Kevin and certainly has a strong connection. A couple points. First, the schedule next year, complete trash. I mean, I'm upset about it. I mean, opening up with Utah State. Look, I mean, I'm not happy about that one. The game against Texas, that's on the road. It's in Austin, Texas. I mean, until Texas really starts to do something, and maybe it'll be next year because, Steve Sarkisian will have a year under his belt. Maybe that's a little bit exciting. You also got Louisiana Monroe, after that. And I think Vanderbilt, I think those are the first 4 games of the season. I mean, it's ridiculous. So, and think about this, and Kevin was talking about kind of the underclassmen of this team. Look at who the sophomores are right now. Look who the leaders are. Look who are standing up in the press conferences after the game. It's Bryce Young. It's William Anderson. Guess what year they are? They're only sophomores, and they haven't played sophomoric, right? That's the marvelous thing about those sophomores. Maybe they will at some point. I don't know. Those two guys certainly seem to have things together. The youth on this team really impresses me. They're a young team overall. They don't, in my opinion, I'm not in the locker room, but I don't feel that this team has a lot of senior leadership. So like Kevin was saying, if it's not teed up this year, which, I don't know if it's necessarily teed up. I think it's there for the taking. I think right now, and we're far from it, it seems like Alabama and Georgia on a collision course. But next year, certainly, I think Alabama is going to have a nice run, considering that these guys are going to have this extra year. With Bryce and Will being back as juniors, I can't even imagine how good those guys are going to be going into the junior year, depending on, the progression of Jace McClellan, Trey Sanders, Roydell Williams, Kamar Wheaton. That running back room is loaded. The offensive line is going to be fantastic with the Brockemeyer brothers growing up, J.C. Latham. I mean, these are 5-stars on 5-stars that are coming up. So, and I keep saying this, and I know people keep saying that they don't believe me, but someone close to the program literally told me that they feel that Saban hasn't hit his peak yet, which is crazy. This coach is about to be 70 on October 31st. Don't forget to wish Coach Saban a happy birthday. So get those birthday cards and send them to Mal Moore or whatever you do. Coach is about to be 70 years old. Look, Coach is in great shape. He's moving around, still competitive as ever, probably more competitive, even smarter than he was 10 years ago. So I'm just saying, all these recruiting classes and everything that he's put together, Alabama's about to go on a run, especially when you combine it with the schedule like they have next year. But this year, it's all about that next game, which is Texas A&M. And I put out a video earlier this morning kind of talking about Alabama, Georgia, then who? Is it Penn State? Really? Mm-hmm. I mean, that game against Wisconsin wasn't very convincing to me. I think James Franklin is a great coach. I guess he's even in the running for the USC job, which I think he'd do a great job with. I think that could still be a good, place to coach at. Is it Iowa? I don't think so. I mean, they got a good running game, but I mean, come on, Iowa. And the great thing is Iowa and Penn State play this next week. So that's certainly a marquee game. Is it Cincinnati? Look, Cincinnati brought the heat on Notre Dame and watched that entire game. And, they're a good team. And they got Jerome Ford as a running back. Jerome Ford transferred from Alabama. The quarterback is very good. But and I think you're right, Mick. I think this is the year that the playoff committee will put inside the playoffs a non-Power 5. And they'll get a taste of what it's like to play with the big boys. I mean, if Cincinnati and Alabama play, I promise you, it's not going to be good for the Bearcats. And then you kind of look to Oklahoma. We've already seen that show. It's like watching the same show again and again. You ever seen the same movie like 5 different times? Does it end differently? No, it's the same story again and again. That's what we're seeing with Oklahoma. And I could tell you everything I know about Oklahoma because I watched the first game against Tulane, and they barely beat the Green Wave when the game was supposed to be in New Orleans. So I'm not really impressed with Oklahoma. So who else is out there? Georgia, Alabama, then who? Maybe, I just think there's a gigantic drop-off.
Yeah, I agree, man. I just think it's Alabama, Georgia, Cincinnati. If they can beat they're gonna have to run the schedule and do it impressively. But they are, in my mind, if they do that, having gone on the road and beaten Notre Dame, a ranked Notre Dame, a team that's been to the college football playoff and was there last year. And then who else? And it's also just because there's really no one else out there. I mean, Oklahoma, has Oklahoma lost yet? They feel like they have, right?
But they barely beat Tulane.
Right. But so they're probably going to figure out a way to get in there. So it'll probably be Alabama, Georgia, Oklahoma, and Cincinnati. I mean, if I was, because Penn State will lose to somebody. Iowa will lose to somebody. Ohio State will win games. Michigan will lose. Like that, they'll cancel each other out.
Well, look at Oklahoma right now. Okay, they beat the Green Wave 40-35. The crazy thing was about that Oklahoma and Tulane game is that Tulane was practicing at Alabama's practice facility. So maybe Coach Saban coached them up that week or something. I don't know, but they came out and nearly took down Oklahoma. Oklahoma then beat Western Carolina 76-0. They beat Nebraska 23-16. Not that impressive to me. Beat West Virginia 16-13. Escaped. That was at their home stadium. And then they beat Kansas State just recently, 37-31. They play Texas this weekend at the Cotton Bowl. Should be a very good game, and kind of the rest of their season slate. I mean, every single game, I think Oklahoma could lose, but somehow they continue to find a way to win.
But it's different than the touchdown Jesus that Auburn figures a way to, pray to each week with their wins. So funny to me. All right, Kyle, let's go right back to the phone lines again. Guys, as you hang out with us, like and subscribe. This is a Sunday night here on the Bama Insider YouTube channel. Make sure that you subscribe so you know when we're going to be back on. And just know that we love hearing from you guys. So let's go back to the phone lines again and talk some more Alabama football. Who's this and where are you calling from?
It's Robert from Mobile.
Robert, what's up, man?
You guys see the beginning of the game when Lancaster said to get out your popcorn, and then he throws the mics around. Oh, well, I think Nick Saban bought the popcorn, but Nick Saban likes it extra salty because that team was playing real salty yesterday. Carol, don't poo-poo the Alabama schedule because keep in mind they're still a play SEC team against SEC competition, regardless of the out of competition or the out of conference games. You still run an SEC schedule. It's still not. It's not an ACC schedule or a Pac-12 schedule or a Big 12 schedule. So if Alabama gets too complacent, that can catch up with them in the end against an SEC competition. So it's never easy in the SEC. Going back to the game, it was definitely outstanding by the defense. The defense still had a great game for them against Ole Miss. The 21 points, 42-21. We all know the final score. It was not really that close. The last touchdown was just pure garbage, and who cares? But for the gaps, sure, missed tackles. Yeah, please, guys, clean up those missed tackles. But they bent but didn't break. And that's just the kind of style they're going to play for the rest of the season. Both Alabama and Georgia have games next weekend that's going to determine what kind of teams they are. How they win is going to have a lot of reflection. If Alabama just decimates Texas A&M with the crowd noise, it's going to be insane. And look like they've gotten that portion of the game fixed, dealing with the crowd noise, and still decimates them, then okay, we're on track. And Georgia, this will be the best defense they played all season on the road. Should they win the game? Sure, they win the game. Well, Alabama and Auburn's defense are close to each other. Auburn's slightly better, but the gap between our defense and Auburn defense isn't huge. If Georgia doesn't score
and finds it hard to score on Auburn's defense. And Auburn shuts down the run game, and Georgia has to find ways to score. That tells us how good Georgia's offense really is. Because we really don't have a good idea of how good Georgia's offense is.
Mm-hmm.
Can the quarterback getting less than 200 yards continue to win for them against really good defenses? So this next week's game for Georgia and Alabama, how they win will tell us a whole lot about what will happen when they meet up. And when they said they made Georgia and Alabama may have to play 3 times, they're not going to play 3 times. They will have to play twice. I think the committee will force them to play early in the playoffs, so it's not an all SEC playoffs again. I mean, all SEC championship again. But the committee may, so I think if whoever loses the SEC championship game, the winner will be 1, the loser will be 4. Then they have to do it again in a month. But yeah, the games next week will tell us a lot about both teams. I'm really curious to see how Georgia does against Auburn's defense, and to see how Alabama handles massive amounts of crowd noise where they can't hear. Does the center finally have it in gear when it's not the ball? Does the line know to be disciplined? And can we run at Texas A&M the way we ran on Ole Miss? If we can do that again, then that's the formula for the key for victory from here on out. This offense is going to look more like A.J. McCarron's offense, I think, with just a more talented quarterback and a more talented quarterback. But it's looking more like the A.J. McCarron offense. The shots still when they're there, but we can grind it out when we have to. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens next weekend.
Yeah, I agree. It's going to be interesting. I mean, Texas A&M is one of the most disappointing teams in the country right now. I mean, they were supposed to be. They were the 5th team of, the top 5 last year. They were the team left out of the college football playoff. I mean, they won games last year, but they just barely won some games last year, and so the committee left them out. I remember I wanted them in. I wanted them in over Notre Dame. I thought they were a better team. If they played Notre Dame, they would beat them, but they didn't get in. This year, they had their sights set on beating Nick Saban in Alabama. They were going to come in with that great defense. They had a lot of game breakers, and it just hasn't panned out. Their offense has stuttered. Spiller hasn't done the things that we expected him to be able to do. And a win over Alabama would turn this season around quickly for them. They need this game desperately. But the fact that Jimbo made the comments, I feel like Alabama has them squarely in their sights, ready for them.
Oh, yeah, there's no question about that. That'll always be the case. And like I said, Alabama win is not a doubt in my mind. It's how they win that's going to that will tell us the most. Yes, are we still running all cylinders on offense, or do you still have the problem that you can't hear when the crowd when the noise is loud? Because in the SEC championship game, Georgia will have the upper hand as far as the crowd goes. So we have to be able to deal with that down the street, and Auburn as well. They'll have their voodoo dolls out and all that at Auburn like they normally do to try to sneak in a lucky win. So they got to be how we handle the crowd noise next weekend is going to tell us a lot. And I'm real interested to see how well Georgia does against Auburn's defense. That's going to be really, really interesting.
Yeah, great call, Robert. Thank you again. And let's get back together after the game next week. Always awesome when Robert from Mobile calls. I'm going to try to get to all these calls. So you guys that have been hanging on, keep hanging because I'm going to get there to you. Like and subscribe. Give us a thumbs up as we talk Alabama football on a Sunday night right here on the Bama Insider YouTube channel. Who's this and where are you calling from?
What's up, Mick and Kyle? This is Sean from Huntsville.
Hey, what's up, Sean? How you doing?
Doing good, man. How you guys doing?
Doing great.
Listen, I wanted to give a few points real quick if I could. Starting off, like I said the other night, we got to give Pete Golding his flowers, man. If we're going to get on him when the defense play bad, we got to give his flowers when the defense play well. Got to give Pete Golding his flowers. They played a great game. Lost some intensity in the second half. But for the most part, the plan was great. Want to give our back end, the secondary, a big shout out. Those guys, to me, played their best game of the season. Fidarian Mathis, to me, played his best game of the season. Fidarian was an absolute beast on 3rd and long. He was a beast in the run game. that was just a complete win for me. A very, very complete win. Tim Smith played well. He didn't look confused. They didn't have to tell him where to line up. You know, he played well. A complete team win. I really, really, really enjoyed that win. I don't think people realize how tough it is to stop offenses like Ole Miss. Very, very, very difficult offense to stop. You know, what those guys have done on offense, to who they've done it to, and the way they do it to stop that team and to hold them to, 21 points or what was it, 21, 22 points, whatever it was.
Yeah, 21, and that last touchdown was BS.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it was. That was great, man. That was great. Hopefully throughout the season we'll get to pick it up, you know, but I know how it is. It's hard to play when you're that far in front. That's a dangerous team we played. You know, but don't be fooled. I want to tell the fans, don't be fooled by Texas A&M struggling. Those guys got a couple of losses. Don't be fooled, man, because remember, football is not a contact sport. It's a collision sport. And humility is just around the corner, just around the corner. If you don't think those guys are going to be amped, record sellout for us, you truly got your eyes closed. They'll try to play their best game against Alabama. They're going to be ready to play us. It's very, very difficult to win on the road in the SEC. I know we make it look easy at times, but it's very difficult to go on the road, especially to places like that that's going to be amped to play Alabama. That's tough, man. You got Texas A&M on the road. Obviously, we got LSU. You know, that's the rival. It is what it is, good or bad. A tough Mississippi State team that's not very talented, but very physical. Probably one of the most physical teams on the schedule. Going to spread us out and throw it 60 times. You got Arkansas and Auburn. You know what I mean? So that's that's a lot of football, man. That's a lot of football to be played. So I got 2 sentences on Georgia. That's as far as I let myself entertain that, because we have so much football left to play. The only 2 sentences I can tell you is humbly, right now, Georgia's defense is playing the best in the country. It's not even close, not even with ours. Georgia's defense has given up 23 points total on the year. Arkansas only got past the 50-yard line 3 times in the entire game.
Right.
Like, them dudes playing at a whole nother level. Their defense is playing the best, but Alabama's offense is playing the best.
Right.
That's the only sentence that I'm going to give Georgia, because it's too much, way too much stuff to be played, way too many games to be played for them and us. You know, I think everything's going to be okay, man. But remember, guys, humility is right around the corner. Don't let our eyes. It's good to entertain it and have fun and talk about it. But I'm just focused on Texas A&M. You know, those guys are coming off a loss. They're going to play desperate and, you know, try to do things differently. You know, Jimbo, he's a good coach, man. I think losing their quarterback really, really, really affected them big time. You know, I even watched Jimbo, and the scheme he's running is very different. You can definitely tell this guy that they have at quarterback now, I'm not sure what the young man's name is, but you can definitely tell he was not ready to play at first, and he just had to get pushed in there. They're not even running kind of like the same offense that Jimbo's used to running. Very, very, very vanilla. Very vanilla. So, but they're dangerous. It's on the road, so we got to take care of our business. And I'll end by saying this, man. If they give out a player of the year right now on defense, if it ain't Will Anderson, I don't know who it is, man. I don't know who it is. That guy is a beast. I'm telling you, I've never seen a sophomore have to get doubled and tripled like that all over the field. People adjust their schemes to stop Will Anderson. That's when you know you're a monster, man. You're a monster. They got to account for that guy no matter where he is, man. So, you know, Will Anderson, next year he'll be a junior. You know, God willing, everything go good, but that'll be his last year at Bama. Trust me.
Yeah.
That guy, he's different, man. Long arms, you know, built just like the old school outside linebackers. Versatile, can rush the passer, can play the run, just what the NFL needs.
Right.
So next year, that guy win every award available, man. But great win, you know, for Alabama. We love it. I love humbling Lane. I'm a Lane fan, you know what I mean? But I love to humble him, because he's a weird little guy. He's strange. I would say that. He's a weird little guy, man. When you guys see him throw, he did his little mic drop, whatever. He looked very strange. I don't know what's wrong with Lane.
I don't know either.
He's a quirky little guy, man. But he's an offensive genius. I will say that. That guy can drop a play with his eyes closed, man. But listen, guys, great job. I'll be in the comments telling everybody to like and subscribe. And you guys do an awesome job. And I appreciate you taking my call. And as always, I'll continue to support.
Hey, thanks, Sean. Awesome, man. Always great. All-American caller there, Sean from Huntsville, on the line with us as we, talk about Alabama. Guys, like and subscribe. And Sean's right. Lane Kiffin is a weird little guy, even though he's like 6'4", but he's a strange dude. The mic drop last night didn't work. The popcorn comment didn't work. It was – I needed some popcorn to watch Alabama dominate Ole Miss like that. Lane got humbled, but you know what? He's not going anywhere. He'll be back. Will Anderson, like Nick Saban said, could be the first pick in the draft. I mean, who knows, right? It very well could be. He's the best player on our team this year, and he affects the game in so many different ways. And what we're seeing is some of the other guys like the Drew Sanders of the world get better and better, understanding where they have to be, how they have to play. They're going to make Henry To'o better. They're going to make other guys better. The younger guys figure out where they're going to be and learn how to play that game. That's going to make the veterans better as well. But, the other thing you got to remember is that, if you're a junior or a senior and you stick around, then, a lot of those other guys are in the NFL. You lose a lot of those guys when they're eligible. Here's a super chat. And again, appreciate it so much from Devin. Devin, check out Andrew Bone. He'll have an update on all this Tuesday night at 6:00, the recruiting show when him and Trey Yannity get back together. I'm not sure how Arch Manning's visit went, other than he got to watch Lane Kiffin and Alabama. Lane Kiffin smush Lane Kiffin, Alabama smush Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin. Let me get that out right. But anyway, yeah, so he got to see quite a game, and I hope that the atmosphere made him think twice about Texas and Georgia, the two front runners from what I've heard. And Andrew Bone will have an update on all of that. All right, let's go back to the phones again, guys. We're going to try to get these calls in. I know Tom Brady and the gang are going to play tonight, with Tampa Bay going back to his old stomping grounds in New England. Who's this and where you calling from?
What's up, Nick? What's up, Nick?
What's up?
How you doing, buddy?
What's up? Jeff from Montgomery.
Man, I'm enjoying the win. No, Selma, but anyway. Selma, Alabama. Yeah, I'm enjoying the win, man. Come on, now. We doing pretty good. Let's talk about these Georgia fans, this Georgia team. Cause, I understand they're doing good and everything, and their defense is really good, but how many touchdowns did they get in the second half?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Did they? I don't even know. Maybe one?
None. They got 2 field goals. Yeah. See, you got to have a balanced offense, and you got to have a balanced defense if you want to be the champ. And like I told them before, if you want to play, how you say it, if you want to play, play around or play with the best, you got to beat the best. If you can't do that, then I don't know what to tell you. And personally, I hope Uncle Lou breaks the damn TV this year. But anyway, I'm having a good day. Excuse me, nice. It's wow. I don't know, man. I mean, Alabama's is really good. I mean, there's a lot of people that say that we're not, but just think how good we'll be by the time we get to the SEC championship game. Just think of what the level the offense and the defense will be on by the time we get there. So, all those Georgia fans can't say nothing because we'll be on the same level they are.
Yep.
Think about that.
Yep. Look, I said it at the beginning of the year, and I stand by this. If you were going to beat Alabama, you needed to get to them early. You needed to get to them. Miami, Florida had a chance. I'm curious to see what the offense will look like without Chase. I think he's such a big part of it. If he's hurt and he's out extended time, but we'll see what Roydell Williams can do and Trey Sanders. Those guys are going to have to step up. We know what Brian Robinson is, and we know what he isn't. So we're going to have to see what these other guys can do. But right now, Alabama, the offensive line played their best game last week, and I just see them getting better each and every game.
I mean, everybody did good in the game. I mean, come on, everybody had a touch pretty much. I mean, Bolden had 2 catches for 20, 30 yards. Williams had a catch for about 40 or 50 yards. Let's see, Brian Robinson had 4 touchdowns. Bryce had 51 yards or something like that, and 2 touchdowns. I mean, everybody did good. I mean, and like Sean said, though, we're going up against Texas A&M, and they're a wounded duck still because they're still mad because they lost, and and yeah, the crowd noise might be a problem, but the best way to take a crowd noise out is to score and keep scoring, because if they have nothing to cheer about, then you have nothing to worry about. See, that's what happened to us in Florida when we, let them back in the game and got that crowd back into it. But we still won in a hostile environment. We kept going. We're still going. We're 5-0, and nobody can say nothing. We're one of the undefeated teams in college football right now, and nobody can say nothing about that.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt at all. I agree with you. All right. Well, look, Jeff, final comments. I got 2 more calls, and then I got to wrap it up tonight. But always awesome hearing from you. Anything else you want to add before we zip off here?
Yeah. What else I say? Oh yeah. We're just gonna keep on rolling, man. I mean, look, I know that they always say that that you're never gonna lose or whatever, but I mean, I don't think we're gonna lose. I just think we're that. I just think we just keep on going and keep on doing what we gotta do to keep getting better every week. And like I said, when we get to that SEC championship game, and those dogs are over there looking at us, and we're looking at them, and it's gonna be toe to toe, and we're gonna go to war, and we're gonna show them what Alabama's all about, and all that talking they've been doing. They're going to have to back it up. Roll Tide.
Roll Tide. Thanks, Jeff. From Selma, not Montgomery. All right, let's go right back to the phone lines again. And as you hang out with us here on a Sunday night, give us a thumbs up, subscribe. We appreciate you hanging out with us here on the Bama Insider YouTube channel. Who's this and where are you calling from?
Roll Tide, Colin. Mick, this is Jarvis calling in from Texas.
Hey, what's up, Jarvis? Good to hear from you.
Nothing much, man. Just, really enjoying this win and dissecting everything, and what a difference a year makes defensively. That 48 points from last year they put up on us. I know that's all they heard. They probably watched that game. They probably had that game playing in the weight room, every day this week to get ready for it. So I said if we could hold them to 20 more points or less, it would put the whole college football on notice that our defense would be just fine. We did lack up on the intensity of the second half, but 20 more points for that team is still amazing.
I couldn't believe how quick we got onto them. I mean, when they didn't get when they kept going for it and they finally got stopped and we got the ball and went straight down the field and scored like they weren't even there. I was like, they're in for it. And then they went again on 4th and they didn't get it. And then that turned into a touchdown. And then they did it again. And I'm like, this is going to be ugly. And it was. And really it should have been 42-14. But, talking about the SEC officials is a waste of our time, on that last drive. But whatever. I mean, it didn't matter anyway. I mean, Alabama covered and dominated the game.
Yeah, and speaking of Lane Kiffin, how bad of how terrible of a look was that mic drop? I mean, I think that's more of a topic than the game. I mean, he had his game face on. I know he's been wanting this game probably since he, saw it on the calendar. He's been wanting to beat Saban, and just how aggressively he was playing showed that he was really coaching with his heart, while Saban was coaching with his head.
Yeah. Kyle brought that up, and I agree with him. I don't know why Lane Kiffin did the mic drop and just some of the trolling stuff he does. I mean, I know he gets a lot of attention, and he wants to kind of build Ole Miss as a rival to Alabama. But when you look at the course of history when these two teams play, it's normally like this game Saturday. I mean, and I know they beat Alabama in 2014 and 15, but that was Hugh Freeze, and that was, look, they got in trouble for recruiting. They had great recruiting classes, and they had the personnel to beat Alabama. Lane Kiffin isn't there yet. Now he can recruit, and I think that Ole Miss is a great spot for him because obviously you saw what happened when he was coaching at USC. And you have these type of games, and they fire you. Ole Miss they'll be patient and they'll let him do his thing, and I think he'll have when he has players that are comparable to the Georgias and Alabamas, I think he could sneak up and beat one. I just don't know that he'll be able to do the thing that Saban does and really even Kirby struggles with, and that's having them prepared for every game, not just the big games, not just some games, but every game. And that's what Nick Saban does better than anyone else. Is that you're prepared for Southern Miss, you're prepared for Ole Miss, you're prepared for Auburn, you're prepared for all the games to win them.
No, I couldn't agree more, Vic. And I know last night, Arch Manning was at the game, and I think that was a bad look for him recruiting-wise for Lane Kiffin, to have the head coach come out and act like that and call that kind of game. Like, in my opinion, that may have kind of been a negative mark against Ole Miss and his recruitment. We'll see going forward. But I don't really think quarterbacks right now are looking too far with Lane Kiffin if you're going to come out like that and get 28 points down in the first half while talking that much smack.
let me put Lane back up here again. I love that look right there. That's the what look. When do you think, because you got to figure the entire time coming back into this game, he's thinking, I'm gonna beat him. I know exactly what Nick's gonna do. We're gonna have every counter for it, just like we did last year. We're better defensively. All we got to do is slow him down. And he was so confident that he came in and did the Randy Watson mic drop. And then all of a sudden it was like he stepped on the banana peel. I mean, when do you think that moment came where he was like, oh boy? You think it was that when it was 21 zip when he's like, I'm not winning?
Down stop.
Yeah.
I think it was that first fourth down stop when they couldn't get it. I think he knew. And we walked it down the field and scored on him. He knew they were in trouble. That defense was in trouble.
When Tim Smith came in there and popped that guy at the line, and he just that guy got hit there. He needed a half a yard and maybe less. And Tim Smith hit him. It was literally like he ran into a brick wall and he just stopped. And that was, I couldn't agree more. Such a big play in the game, man. Yeah, Lane's entertaining though. I mean, I like him a lot. Even though I do think he's clownish, like Michael Wilbon said. I know exactly what Wilbon's saying. It's stuff like the mic drop. It's the Raider days. It's the way you rolled out on Tennessee after a year, and the things that you do behind the scenes that you don't think anybody knows about, and the USC, and then the way you left Alabama when you were there. There's just a lot of stuff that the guy is, kind of behind, but at the same time, he's still a genius. I mean, he'll draw up some plays.
I mean, I couldn't agree more, Mick. And I guess my last 2 points would be, first of all, if you're going to do the mic drop, do it after you win the game, not before you walk into it. And just looking ahead on the schedule, this will be LSU's first time back in our stadium since Ogeron signed to his house. So we'll see how welcome of they get when they come to Tuscaloosa in a couple of weeks.
All right, hold on, Jarvis. Don't go. You stay. Well, hold on, Jarvis. You brought it up. Let me see if I can find this now. Let me see if I can dig this up real quick. And I'm moving stuff around here, so you're gonna notice some different branding. We moved all this stuff in here, and I can't get to anything, but I gotta do this before you get out of here. So just stay with me until I find this, and then I'll let you go. But we gotta watch this together after another great performance. Another great performance by Ed. I hope they just give Ed a lifetime contract, because I enjoy Ed. I enjoy him. You talk about antics. I love his antics.
Oh man,
I can't find it. I hope they didn't take it out of here, man. Oh, we need to watch it together, and I don't see it. He might have took it out on me. Well, I don't
Well, I
see
will
it.
say, the game's in a few weeks, so you definitely have time.
I got time to
We'll
get it back
definitely
up.
find that.
Funny story is like we ran into the guy that made the video. He was at Innisfree on Friday, and I introduced Kyle to him, and I said, "Hey, this is the guy that made the Ed Orgeron video." We were just sitting there laughing about it. And the guy's name's Ryan Brown. He's a good guy. He does a show called Next Round. It used to be the Jocks Roundtable in Birmingham. And our buddy Lance Taylor is on the show with him. And so just good guys. And I was talking to him about the video. He said he walked up after the game. He was, covering the game on the sideline. And then all of a sudden he was like, oh, something's going on here. He just pulled the phone up. He said he looked around and no one else was there. And they, and he made that video. I said, man, I play that video all the time, man. And we were just laughing about it. I can't find it on here. I can't believe that I can't find that video too. That's going to bother me now. I'll look. No, it's gone.
Well,
we changed everything, but we'll get it back. Look, we'll have it for you. I like having that on speed dial though. For Jarvis, when you call me and we need to get that out for everybody.
My last point. He'll be homeless messing with us. We went to Baton Rouge last year, took his home away from him. So he's going to walk in here and lose his home away from home this year. So that's going to be a good matchup. Well, I'll let you get to somebody else, and thanks for taking my call.
Hey, thanks for calling in, Jarvis. I love hearing from you, man. And roll tide. All right, last call of the night. Let's do one more before we wrap things up. And on a Sunday night, like and subscribe. Hit the bell for me, guys. Roll tide, everybody, on the Bama Insider YouTube channel. Who's this and where are you calling from?
Hey, Mick, it's Parker.
What's up, Parker? Pensacola, right?
Yeah, I was at the game yesterday.
What'd you think? Were you making some noise?
Oh, I mean, that's exactly what Rashad said on the pregame. Be loud.
Well, you guys were loud. I'll tell you what, I was worried about it a little bit, and then from everything I heard, it was a really hostile environment.
And I mean, yesterday I got to check pretty much everything off my bucket list. I got to meet Eli Gold for the first time. I got to meet Tyler Watts, which Tyler's a super nice guy. Got to meet who else did I get to meet from the network? Eli Gold, Roger Hoover, and the only two on the network that I didn't get to meet were Chris Stewart and JP.
Where was Chris at?
I guess he was up in the press box.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Great guy.
But I mean, it was, and I went with a coworker friend of mine, and that was his first time to a big SEC game like that. So I literally said it just joking with him one day. I was like, we should go to a game or whatever. And he's like, you want to? And I said, I was kidding, but but it was, and like I said, Tyler was just such a nice guy. So I mean, do you think Clemson's dynasty has come to an end?
I heard Paul Feinbaum say that the other day, and I disagree. I didn't listen to everything he said, but it just from what I looked at, and not having listened to his show, but I just from what I understand, he said that the dynasty was over, right? I don't think so. I think it's just a bad year. I think that Clemson will be back. I think that I think the biggest issue that they have is on the offensive line, and that they're just trying to, to replace guys. And I know that their quarterback's way better than he's played, but the offensive line, and he's also going to have to take transfers. It's something that they haven't really done at Clemson. They've lost guys, but they haven't replaced them. I think they'll do that as well. So I think Clemson will be back. I think they'll be fine. I don't think that's the end of their dynasty. He's still going to be able to recruit. He may get Arch Manning. I mean, Dabo Swinney in his days as being one of the best coaches in college football are far from over, in my opinion. I think he's here to stay.
So you don't see Dabo coming to Alabama when Saban hangs it up?
I hope he does. I've said this before. I mean, I met Dabo when he was a real estate guy in Birmingham. he just happened to be at the football facility when I was there years ago, and everyone loved him. He's a great guy. And so I guess just
doesn't Tyler Watts do that on the side too?
He may. I don't know. I mean, Jay Barker, is on our channel now, and Jay and I are pretty good buddies. And Jay played with him. I mean, he was a walk-on receiver, and Jay loves him too. So there's a part of me. I'm not trying to push Saban out the door at all. But if Saban leaves and Dabo comes in, that's a win for Alabama. I want you to keep an eye on Florida. Dan Mullen lost that game to Kentucky. Dan Mullen's a great coach. And what happens is that people get impatient when some of these coaches are trying to build a program. There's only one Nick Saban, but as far as like the 200 or 100 and how many teams there are in college football, Dan Mullen's one of the top 15 coaches to me. They lost. They played a good game and they lost. Kentucky's got, I think, one of the best defenses in the country. They were at home. They got some breaks. Florida didn't take advantage of some breaks, whatever. At the end of the day, people are already kind of coming down on him. They were doing it last year. If that guy leaves, you put yourself in a position like Alabama was in with when they got rid of Gene Stallings, where you bury yourself because there aren't a lot of good coaches. Unless you have the right guy there, then you can't make a move. When Alabama made the move to Nick Saban, the Mike Shula, the whole Mike Shula thing was over. There was not a lot of discipline around the football program. He couldn't win in fourth quarter games. He wasn't a great X's and O's coach. He was a great guy, but our rivals were beating us all the time. It was just, and he had 4 years to figure it out, and he didn't figure it out. Then they started losing not just to LSU and Auburn, and Tennessee. They lose to Mississippi State and stuff. There's going to be years where those teams are going to be good, but
was Saban this successful at his other schools, or is it just at Alabama?
No, he was listen. He went to Michigan State and was a really good coach there. He got to LSU, and LSU was comparable to, I'm trying to think of who they would be in the SEC right now. Probably Texas A&M. Yeah, 7-5, 8-4. Maybe they'd have like a 6-win season, but they beat Alabama and Tuscaloosa and lose to Alabama every year down there. They were middle of the pack, and he got there and they started winning. I mean, and obviously they won the national championship, and then he set Les Miles up for the championship that he won. It was all Saban seniors, and then the program's been really different ever since. They've been kind of an elite program, and they've recruited at an elite level. Ed Orgeron's doing his best to change all of that. He's just a terrible coach. And I wish I had my Ed video to play. I know Jarvis brought that up, and I would have loved to have, played that one more time for everybody. But he was a good coach. He was a great coach at LSU. And if he would have stayed at LSU, they'd be doing the same thing right now. They'd be the same as Alabama. It was a lucky break that Mal Moore had the opportunity to get Saban. And remember, we were supposed to get Rich Rodriguez, but his wife talked him out of the job after he accepted. The headline was Alabama gets Rich. Yeah. I mean, think about that. And Rich Rodriguez at the time was, one of the top coaches in college football running the spread. Had he come to Alabama, he would have had success. Every coach that comes to Alabama, even the bad ones, win 10 games, So, I mean, think about, Rich Rodriguez can't even get a head coaching job anymore. I mean, what happened at Arizona and everything else. So we end up with Nick Saban, and honestly, the rest is history, man. It's been just amazing.
And I know I mention this game all the time on the show, but looking back that first year when ULM came and beat us at home, what did we do wrong? We talk about that game every time I call in.
Yeah, look,
it's just one that I'll never forget.
Yeah, well, look, it's time to move on from it, because I'll tell you what, though, what happened was Alabama went to play Tennessee that year, and I was like 5 starters got in trouble for selling their textbooks. And basically what happened was they would get these textbooks from the university as part of their scholarship, and then they would turn around and sell them and keep the money. Well, you're not allowed to do that. And Nick Saban found out about it, and cut basically turned them in. He didn't want a program that the kids were doing stuff like that, But the problem was that they didn't have those guys to play. Well, they still beat Tennessee without them that day. But the La Monroe game was the one that really cost them. They were missing guys on the lines, and the rest is history. Alabama couldn't move the ball, and Louisiana Monroe did. I watched that game from the skybox, with the Yinglings. I watched it from the Yingling skybox. I remember losing and leaving, and that being broken hearted at the end of that game. But it
were they threatening to fire Saban after that?
No. I think we all just kind of knew what was going on. I think we all just kind of knew that it was going to be a process.
Right. It's a dynasty, and I hope it doesn't end anytime soon.
No. Look, it's not going to. Kyle, who my partner on here, he keeps telling me that Saban's at the beginning, not the end. That this is we're about to hit the we're still going up. The peak isn't even here yet, which would be amazing, and I would love that. Every time Alabama wins, it makes me happy. I want them to win every single game.
So I'm not going to get to watch the Alabama A&M game next Saturday due to the Brooks and Dunn concert, but of course I'll be looking at it on my phone as much as I can. But what do you think going into Death Valley? Do you know, has the line come out for this one yet?
The A&M line is 15.5. It came out at 9.5, and it's gone up to 15.5. And it'll probably, on the road, it'll probably keep going up. This one will probably end up at about 17.5, 18. I see Bama going in there and laying it to them. I just don't think they're going to be able to. Look, if you lose to Mississippi State and the way that they got beaten by Arkansas, it's not just that they lost the game, but just dominated at the line of scrimmage. I think Alabama will have a game plan to run the ball on them, and I don't think they'll be able to stop it.
Do you think Bama's going to run the table 2 years in a row? It's never happened, right?
Yeah.
We've never run the table 2 years in a row. Do you think it's possible we could run this table?
I think it's possible. Georgia's a very real challenge out there. Playing at Auburn is going to be tough at the end of the season. That's why these next 2 games are really important for Alabama, because they need the experience of playing on the road. We saw that, being at Florida was tough. So they're going to have 2 tough ones, but 2 winnable ones. And then, we'll finish up the season down on the plains, and, hopefully, and right now it's looking pretty good. Yeah, it's looking pretty good to be in the SEC championship game.
But yeah, so it was so fun being at the stadium yesterday. I wish I had season tickets where I could go every week. And it's just, like I said, the radio crew, it just seems like they just have a blast on the air. Radio is way more fun than watching it on CBS. I hate to say that. But.
Well, I hate Gary Danielson. I know he's probably a good guy, but I just don't find his broadcast enjoyable. I know he's smart, and I get what he's saying.
I didn't like Vern.
I didn't like Vern either. I like Blackledge, but I just don't like the color commentator. He just
seems like they always put Alabama down. Like they don't want Alabama to win.
I don't know. I don't even know if it's, to me, I don't even know if it's that. It's just, he's just not likable. Look, I've listened to a lot of great commentators over the years in different sports. I can remember Howard Cosell doing play-by-play when I was a kid. John Madden and Pat Summerall doing it, and it's not. I'm not saying that we need someone that is an Alabama homer. I'm just saying that it's not an enjoyable watch when those guys are together. It just isn't, and I think we all kind of feel that way, but it doesn't really matter, right? They're going to keep putting them out there.
Are they getting our game next weekend at A&M?
No, it'll be the night crew, so we won't have those two. Honestly, I think they should put Tom Hart and they should put Tom Hart and his crew on there. Put old Kublik on the sideline and the other guy they got up there. I would much rather have them. I feel bad they're covering like Alabama, Southern Miss. They should be doing that game. They should be doing the SEC game of the week and not the SEC network game of the week, in my opinion. I love Tom.
One more thing, and I'll let you jump. I just wish that they would 1 week let the radio crew go to TV and have Eli and John Parker on the TV. I mean, it'd be so fun to hear Eli on the TV calling the
Well, you can do that. There's apps that will allow you to sync your phone audio with the television. So, maybe that's something that you should do. Eli and John Parker on there. When I first got to Alabama, it was Eli and Snake Stabler. I still have a Snake Stabler picture in here, Daniel Moore picture that
and then Chris Stewart was on the sideline, wasn't he? Chris was on the sideline.
Yeah, I love Chris. I mean, I think Chris would be a great play-by-play guy. I mean, he does
it for men's basketball.
Right. Well, look.
All right, brother.
Thanks, Parker. Roll Tide, my friend, and congratulations on the game.
Roll Tide.
Roll Tide. That's Parker from Pensacola. That's our last call of the night. All right, guys, look, as you hang out here, let me remind you a couple of things before we go and watch Tom Brady and company tonight. Tomorrow night, we will be back on the air at 6 o'clock with Monday Night Quarterback. That'll be Tony Tsoukalas and me. Tuesday, we're going to get you caught up on everything Arch Manning with Andrew Bone and his recruiting show. Trey Yannity will host that. We'll have all of the press conferences leading into Alabama and Texas A&M right here as well. Kyle Henderson will be on Wednesday night. And then Friday, the Bama Insider Tailgate Show from the Floribama again in Perdido Key, Orange Beach. So that'll be a lot of fun as well. 6 to 8, we'll have that one on Friday night. But we got all kind of stuff here. Make sure you keep us subscribed so you know when we're on the air live. And we appreciate you so much. I'm Mick Gillispie for Kyle Henderson. Thanking you guys, the callers, for calling in tonight, man. What a great night of callers. All of you guys were fantastic, and I can't wait to do it again next Sunday night. Roll Tide, everybody.